Fruity Loops isn't a cereal?
No, you got me there though. Originally, ImageLine started with the name Fruity Loops, and now they refer to it as FL Studio.
Does it have anything to do with loops?
No. The name is a little bit misleading, and they changed it to FL Studio, but you're dealing with music from scratch, and you're sequencing on a step sequencer. So, originally speaking, they can be referred to as loops, but it's all made from scratch, so there's no pre-made loops.
I want to get into music. My friends use Pro Tools. Isn't that the best program for musicians?
There's no best program for creating music. Let me ask you something. If you suck at basketball, and I mean completely suck at basketball, do you think putting a pair of $250 sneakers is going to make you any better?
Maybe.
But now you're going to feel official, and you're going to rationalize the fact that you have the same program that all your friends have. Let me ask you something. If you have no ability to create sentences and no literacy, what good would the best word processing program do you? If you have no ability to paint with a paintbrush, what good will the most expensive paint get you? That's right, absolutely nothing. If you have no creativity and no idea for sounds that complement one another, the program has absolutely no bearing besides the fact that you can look in the mirror and say, hey, I use Pro Tools. It's by far and away one of the silliest things I've ever seen in regards to the music industry. However, it's not all that bad for Pro Tools. If you're a live band, or you need to mic up a lot of guitars, mic up your whole drum set and your vocalist, and you're all playing together simultaneously, that could be a reason to use Pro Tools, because it's primarily for audio recording. Nothing to do with creating from scratch though. So Pro Tools does have its merits in certain situations. Then once you have all your elements recorded, you're going to have to mix all the levels of your arrangement properly and have the best final product. With that being said, FL Studio can still do that. It just depends on your interface and how many inputs you have. And even worse than all this, if you have no passion for creating music and you're only doing it to be cool, you shouldn't be involved with music at all. If you're faking it, your listeners are going to press play, you're wasting their time. I can't really imagine why someone would want to do that. You might be able to get away with it for a little bit, but the karma's going to catch up to you, and if you don't have the passion for it, it's going to fall to the wayside, and it's just largely going to be a waste of your time and everyone else's time. And also, while we're on the topic of creating music, do you understand that creating digital music takes time and hard work?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to make awesome tracks.
Let me ask you this. Can you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger after one day at the gym?
Probably not.
There's no shortcuts in life, and there's no easy way around this. If you try to take a shortcut, most likely you're going to be inferior. Can you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger after one day in the gym?
No, you can't.
Exactly. Music production is hard work, and the FL Studio Cookbook actually provides a clear-cut guide on all the features and functions of the program, and it relates it to the real world, and provides tips and tricks along the process.
Do I have to buy the hard copy version?
No, you don't have to. It's available in hard copy and e-format.
Can I buy it on Amazon?
Yes.
Can I buy it on Amazon Kindle?
Yes.
Is the book available in the iTunes store?
Yes.
Can I get it at Barnes & Noble?
Yes.
What about Safari Books online?
Yes.
Cool. How did you end up writing this book?
Well, basically, Pact Publishers contacted me and asked me if I'd like to write the book. About a year before that, I had already started my website called FL Studio Training. I enjoyed teaching. The FL Studio Training was face-to-face lessons in Cleveland and also worldwide on a screencast software. And I was also already involved with YouTube tutorials and teaching about music production.
What artists have you produced for?
I don't understand the motivation behind that question. I'm not a name dropper. I'm not going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside because I'm signed. But if you must know, I do have publishing agreements with Free Play Music in New York City, Prolific Arts in Dallas, and Smash Track Music in California. I also work with music libraries in the United Kingdom and Italy. So I'm a behind-the-scenes composer.
So you haven't produced for any artists?
If you must know a name, I've worked with Nemi in the United Kingdom. Would I like to work with a major artist? Probably yes. Do I need to get better at my craft? Probably yes. Am I continuously learning? Yes. Am I claiming to be the best producer? No. I'm not claiming to be the best. I'm not claiming to be the worst, but it's been a large part of my life. I enjoy teaching, and the FL Studio Cookbook is basically my life's work.
Who are your favorite artists or influences?
I like artists that put an original spin on previous concepts or create their own sound or mix different genres together. It's a pretty big mixed bag over the many decades, but I can kind of break it down through each decade. In the 1980s, I liked Bobby Brown, Debbie Gibson, Miami Sound Machine, Carly Simon, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Color Me Bad, George Michael. And my brother's influence was pretty much like Vanilla Ice, NWA, and Digital Underground Sex Packets. In the 90s, I liked a lot of the R&B, Criss Cross, and probably mid-90s, the three bands I remember were Offspring, Live, and Soundgarden, kind of during the grunge phase. I also like Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins, Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, Bone Thugs, Nas, and anybody that has an emotional connection. So two of my top ones would probably have to be Bob Marley and Michael Jackson. They're always included up there. And anybody that has a fusion of different genres like Sublime, Limp Bizkit, and maybe Linkin Park. I really like that song by Sublime called, I think it was April 29th, 1992. It's basically like reggae mixed with funk, mixed with a little record scratching. And one of my favorite albums is the Wu-Tang Into the 36 Chambers from 1993.
How long have you been producing? Have you always used Fruity Loops?
FL Studio!
Oh, yeah. How long have you used FL Studio?
Well, I've been producing since about 6 years old, thanks to my dad. He's a pianist and also a composer and sound designer. He got me something called the Casio SK8 when I was about 6, and then I started just composing at that age. I learned the piano and drums by ear, and then teenage years I used his old analog setup, which is basically a Macintosh computer running Digital Performer. It had chord keyboards and Kurzweil keyboards, Proteus sound modules, and reel-to-reel tapes, DAT machines, and Lexicon effects processors. So it was the analog way, so it was good I learned the analog way, now mixed with the digital.
So after that, I take it you got Fruity Loops?
FL Studio.
Right.
Yeah, during my last quarter at Ohio State, I basically stumbled upon the program, locked myself in Captain Bly's room for about 2 weeks, kind of deciphered it, and it was a pretty big breakthrough. It got the ideas in my head to a tangible form a lot quicker, mostly relating to just putting the rhythm and the kicks, hi-hats, and snares together and sound effects. Then I could layer it like I originally did, just through overdubbing and adding different harmonies.
What year was that?
That was about the end of 2003. Then after that, I moved back to Beechwood, and I used FL Studio with a Roland Phantom keyboard and a Creative X-Fi PCI sound card. So again, it was the mixture of digital and analog.
What's covered in the book and how is it laid out?
Each chapter has different recipes with screenshots on each recipe, and they're all laid out in the same manner. They have an intro, a getting ready, a how to do it, And the how to do it actually has the screenshots with step-by-step directions. And then after that, there's how it works and there's more, which actually explain, you know, what it actually means in the real world. And at the end of each recipe, there's a see also, which basically lists any recipes that are related to the current recipe you're reading. It's a good mixture. It was developed by Pact as far as their cookbook format, so it's like a how-to mixed with what it actually means. There's a total of 11 chapters followed by an appendix. Chapter 1 is just configuring FL Studio and a little bit about sound cards and audio interfaces, and also installing virtual instruments. Chapter 2 is using the browser, and there's 3 recipes inside of there. Chapter 3 is the step sequencer and channels. Chapter 4 is building your song. Chapter 5 is using the playlist. Chapter 6 is using the mixer and recording audio. Chapter 7 is sampling. Chapter 8 is exporting your project in WAV format or MP3. Chapter 9 is humanizing, which is pretty big because it's a little nuances and getting it to sound not like a robot, which can separate a good song from a great song. So humanizing is pretty big. Chapter 10 is recording automation, and Chapter 11 reviews rewiring Reason into FL Studio. The appendix covers some legal concepts about publishing, ASCAP, performance societies, and a lot of things relating to music publishing and entertainment law. But you could look on Amazon, I think Google, or also the Pact publishing site, and there's some previews which you could download as far as the contents inside of the book. Cool, man. Who is the book for? Well, the book's basically for anyone wanting to learn more about FL Studio. If you've been using it for a couple years or so, there's definitely a lot of tips and tricks, and it can definitely improve your workflow. Beginners for sure, young kids and teenagers, and I'd also say anyone who wanted to get back into music production, such as maybe baby boomers that stepped away for a little bit and want to get back into it. So basically anybody, I know that's pretty broad, but anybody wanting to learn more about music production from the ground up, and that's starting from scratch, building your rhythm, adding MIDI instruments, recording external audio like a vocal, microphone or guitar or piano, sampling, exporting the song, humanizing it, basically everything under the sun. It's all accomplished in this one book. So I'm just grateful that it's out, and I hope it enhances and adds value to everyone's various cases of where they are in the music production spectrum, and I hope they can learn from the book. Thanks for your time, man. No problem, man. Take care.